All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's happening? This is L.A. Williams, the blind master. And man, I'm telling you, I just came back from working with a 6, 7, something like that, rooftop dealer group out on the West Coast. And so they got stores in Idaho, California, all kind of stuff, right? So I'm noticing that there are some really talented sales individuals, but there's still work to be done. So today, we're going to have a conversation all about negotiation. So hope y'all ready. Let me ask you a question. Did you come here to listen to money or make it? This is L.A. Williams, the blind master. And Sean V. Bradley and I came here for one reason and one reason only. And that's to fill your pockets with money. Now how we going to do it? By giving you the secrets, techniques, and strategies for you to stop losing and start winning at this game called automotive professional sales. All right, so today's podcast is really for that automotive professional who is really good at what they do, but yet again, there's still another level that you can reach. So I'm saying this because there was a gentleman, I should give him a shout out, Mr. John Lyles, super talented, man, really good at what he does, knows what to say on the phone, pretty well when it comes to emotional intelligence. I mean, he just, he's got the right words to say. He's mastered the king's language, as I call it, right? But yet there's still some pieces to the puzzle that, man, I just feel like if they had them, folks would be able to take their game to the next level. So again, today we're going to talk about negotiation. As you all know, that I was trained by one of the what I call one of the greatest negotiators, Mr. Chris Voss. He wrote a book called Never Split the Difference. Started his career really as a hostage negotiator. That's what his, big claim to fame was. And now he's got the Black Swan Group. Well, I got a chance to work with him some years back. And man, some of the stuff, right, that he's taught me is, I'm telling you, it's absolutely phenomenal. And I just feel like if folks knew this stuff, they change the game, right? They'd elevate their game even higher, right? So we're going to go over a couple of different techniques, and as I go through them, I'll give you the names of them, and then it's going to be up to you to implement them into your daily process, right? And do it subtly, okay? Nobody's telling you to go out there and just like change your whole game. That's not what this is all about. It's just about adding a little bit of spice, right, to the recipe that you have that already may be successful. I'm telling you, it's gonna make your soup that much more tasty. All right, so here we go. Negotiation skills from the blind phone master. All right, so the first one I'm going to talk about is called the mirror technique. Yes, the mirror technique. And some of you have heard of it before, but I challenge you because based off of what I'm hearing, you could be using it a whole lot more effectively, okay? So what is the mirror technique? Well, the mirror technique is when you repeat back what you hear the customer saying, and not in a sense by saying, hey, so what I'm hearing you saying is blank, blank, blank. You could do that, but that's not exactly what I'm talking about. That's not a mirror specifically, right? This, matter of fact, before I give you an example, I'm going to tell you the reasons why you want to do it, okay? So reason number one is because you want the customer to know and get and understand that you are listening to them. It reinforces the fact that you're actually listening. See, so many times with salespeople, especially in our industry, customers feel unheard. They feel like you're not really listening. You have an agenda and all you care about is your agenda, which sometimes that's what your problem is, right? But you got to really listen to the customer. And when you repeat back the last 3 or 4 words you hear the customer saying, it can do wonders, okay? So that's the first reason that you want to do it. The second reason is if you're looking to encourage your customer to say more, right? If you want to encourage your customer to say more. So let me kind of give an example. Let's say, and I'm not saying you want to use this, but let's just say your customer's like, I'm looking for a fuel efficient car. And you're like, oh, a car that's fuel efficient? Or you might say, a fuel efficient car? Yeah, right. You see, so now you repeated back what the customer said, and now they know you're listening, and now they'll probably be like, yeah, of course, man, you don't know gas prices, such and such, which again, that may not be the the result that you're looking for, but it might, right? There's so many different ways you can play off of these, what I call puzzle pieces that I'm giving you, right? You just got to be able to, you got to begin to play with it. Now, I'm not saying don't go overdoing anything, as I said in the intro. I'm saying just use it when you need to in order to accomplish a specific goal, okay? So another aspect of this that I do when I want to encourage someone to say more, sometimes I'll just use the words, anything else? Right? But the key is using those words in an upward inflection. Y'all hear how my voice, I'm saying, steal a fishing car? Right? And see, the cool thing is this actually works whether the customer is aware of the tools or not. You guys you all could use it on me, right? If we were having a conversation and we were just having a basic conversation, you could repeat the last 3 or 4 words that I said with an upward inflection, and naturally I would begin to speak more. I would tell you more. I would give you more information about the thing that we're talking about. And because it's a natural reflex in our brain, it's not something that, yes, it's a tool, and some of us, if we know it, we might be able to defend against it, but usually you don't. And especially if you're using it for good, you're just using it for regular conversation to accomplish a goal, then there's nothing to really defend against. It's just how our brains will respond to certain scenarios. All right. So let me kind of go into the next one, and it's going to be challenging to do it on a podcast because the next thing I'm going to talk about is strategic silence. So a friend of mine in another Facebook group that I'm in, we're just teaching men about, and taking their lives to the next level. One of the conversations, one of the questions he asked is, how do I remain calm in a conversation? And a big part of that, what I said was, of course, there's the, nervous system, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we got to work on that kind of stuff, right? But a big part of it is confidence, right? Immense confidence. One of the things that I know that I've had, and one of the things that made me the blind master, right, is because I'm extremely confident when I'm having a conversation. And so I don't need to rush and say anything. I can literally just take my time and state my point with confidence, knowing that it's going to make a difference. And I think so many times we think that we need to hurry up and respond to the customer, so much so that we will cut them off. And yes, there are times when we should cut the customer off, right? There's some things that I don't want you to say. I'm going to have to, I really can't. That's another one I'm going to have to figure out how to teach. But yes, I don't want people to think, I don't want to cut them customer off. Sometimes you got to do that, right? But in more instances, you got to be patient. You got to let people say what they're going to say. And then you got to be strategically silent so that you can overcome whatever challenge they may be thinking of in their mind. Did you know sometimes you can plant a seed in a customer's mind and silence will allow it to sprout, right? So sometimes I can say something to a customer that may be a little bit different than what they may be used to hearing, and then I'll let what I said kind of just hang in the balance, right? Because I know they're thinking about it, right? I know I said something powerful, and now it's just a matter of them taking in what I said. So for example, and I got to give a shout out to my man Larry Brainerd for this one, right? And I don't even remember if this is exactly what I use. I talk to so many customers, but I will tell you about a conversation I had with a customer about their trade. So of course, they're like, oh, you don't have to give me an exact number, but I'm just kind of looking for a ballpark, right? And I explained to him, I said, well, the challenge is no matter what I tell you, I'm going to be guessing. And if I give you a number that's too low, you're going to just blow me off, right? You're like, oh, well, I ain't going down there for that, right? And if I tell you a number that's too high, then when you get here and I have to lower it, now you're going to be thinking I'm some scummy car salesman. And neither one of us is looking for that response. And I just let it hang in the air and let the customer go, wow, you know what, that makes sense, right? So again, there's plenty of times that I do things like that. Sometimes I wish I could just like record myself on a regular basis, right? I'm about to hire a whole video crew just to follow me around and listen to the things that I say, because I'm telling you, I can make a whole course out of it. But anyway, speaking of trade-ins and inventory.
Hey, LA, do you know that dealers are still suffering from inventory, from lack of inventory? I mean, again, the manufacturers are still not where they used to be with their new car inventory, which is putting a heavy strain on used car inventory. And so I'm telling you, dealers need to look at VinQ. VinQ by far is the absolute best software and technology provider when it comes to acquisition, trade-in, used car inventory, used car pricing. We call it the V-Auto Killer. So folks, if you are looking to have the absolute best inventory software specifically for acquisition purposes, for pricing purposes, for so much more, just check out VinQ. As a matter of fact, VinQ is going to be a featured speaker and their sponsor for the upcoming Internet Sales 20 Group 15 in beautiful Baltimore, April 15th to the 17th.
Absolutely, y'all better be there. All right, cool. So another negotiation skill that I want to discuss is called no-oriented questions. Oh my gosh, these are some of my favorite, and I know I've spoke about them on the podcast in the past, but again, you're not really using them the way I'm teaching you how to use these bad boys, so pay attention, okay? So listen, check this out, right? This is such a cool thing because, most times in sales, we're taught to get the customer to say yes, right? That's like normal, right? Get a person to say yes. And I also teach that there are 3 different types of yeses, right? There's the confirmation yes, right? Just a person just confirming, yes, okay, yes, 100%, right? Then you got the commitment yes, right? That's the yes that we're all kind of looking for. When we get them to say yes, they're committing to whatever we just talked about, right? But the problem is there's also the counterfeit yes, right? And so this is when people just say yes to shut you up, get you off the phone, get you out their face. You see what I'm saying? And we're not really looking for that. And so if you want to counter the counterfeit yes, then I challenge you to use a no-oriented question. People are actually more comfortable saying no than they are saying yes. Here's the crazy thing. They want to say yes. They don't want to say no more than they say yes. People like saying yes, but they're more comfortable saying no, okay? So because think about it, most people been saying the word no since they was, 2 years old, right? It's the first word that most human beings speak is the word no, right? So we got to be able to use that to our advantage. So instead of me asking a customer, hey, would you like to come in and schedule a test drive? Which of course I wouldn't teach you to ask anyway. I would say something like, so when's the best time for us to schedule the test drive? This time or that time, right? But let's say I would, because most of y'all do it, right? Here's what I might preface the question of when's the best time for us to do it. I might say, well, let me ask you, Sean, would it be a bad idea for us to schedule a time where we could get together and, you could test drive the vehicle? And then he's like, no, it wouldn't be a bad time at all. Okay, cool. So when's the best time for us to do that? We could do this time or that time, this day or that day, right? So I'm going to use a no-oriented question, a question that I'm hoping the customer says no to. Man, I'm telling you. And then listen, there's one question that I teach, and I like to do this more so via text message than I do live and in person or over the phone, right? I'll ask a person, and these are the 7 words, I guess it's about 7, 8 words that I might use when I'm texting the customer. Don't add anything to this. Don't tell you hello. Don't say anything, right? If I haven't heard from a customer in, let's just say, 5, 6, 7 days, whatever the number it may be, right? I'll send them a text, right? I've been reaching out to them, can't get them. I'll send them a text and I'll say, have you given up on the Jeep? Right, just that simple. Have you given up on the blank, whatever it is, right? And so now I'm hoping the customer will text me back no. Most people don't want to have given up on anything. So I'm hoping that they text back no, but even if they say yes, It's great for me because I was looking for a response. And so you want to put yourself in position where you ask questions like this, and no matter what they say, you'll be in a good situation, okay? So that is one of the biggest things that I think we need to learn. We need to learn how to ask no-oriented questions, all right? So the next one I'm going to teach about is the F word in negotiation, okay? And it's not the F word that y'all think I'm talking about. Ain't nobody talking about that, right? I'm talking about a different word that sometimes we're using maybe a little too much, a little too little. I'm talking about sometimes we allow the customer to use the F word in our negotiations, and we don't want that happening. So we're going to talk about the F word in negotiation in like 2.5 seconds. All right, so what is this F word that I'm talking about, right? Well, it's not family, it's not fudge, right? The F word is fair, okay? So many times, we got customers talking to us and they're like, well, I just want what's fair. And that means that you've pushed the customer to a place that you really don't want them to be, right? And so don't allow your customers to get to a place where they have to tell you that they want what's fair. You have to present them something fair to begin with, and then you can ask them, hey, does that sound fair? Right? Hey, let me ask you, if I'm having a conversation with someone and I'll be like, fair enough? Right, there we go with that upward inflection thing again, right? This is just, a typical word that you can use because I know that everything will not always sound good to a customer, but at least it sounds fair, right? And we never want a person to feel like we're putting them in a situation where the thing that we're presenting to them is not at minimum fair. Right? I think it's so important that whenever I'm presenting any kind of a deal, there is a win-win. We talk about the 7 habits of highly effective people all the time, right, on the podcast, and it's dealer synergy. We are Franklin Covey certified and all of that good stuff, right? Well, win-win is definitely fair. How do I get what I want and need out of the situation, and you as the customer get what you want and need out of the situation, right? Again, we want to be able to present things that are fair. So let's put a lot of attention on that, and instead of asking a customer okay or sound good, you just say, hey, does that sound fair? All right, great, right? Now we can move forward. And if you're a dealer or a manager and you don't know what your team is saying on the phone, well, then Sean's got a message for you.
Yeah, LA, you got to agree with me on this one, right? That the phone is one of the absolute most important tools in the dealership, but it is also one of the most misused. Think about this: phone calls, text messages, etc. All of this is done through the phone. Dealers need to inspect what they expect. It's one thing to provide phone training for one of your employees or all of your employees, but just because you provide training doesn't mean that they've actually listened, learned, comprehended, and are utilizing information. So it is imperative to inspect what you expect. And one of the best ways to do that is using call reviews, phone technology. So it's call monitoring, call analytics. It is amazing to be able to track and inspect what you expect. Now think about this: if you're recording all of the phone calls, you're able to have quality assurance, you're able to have a peace of mind legally, but most importantly, you're able to evaluate your team and identify on the quantitative and qualitative measures of the phone call what needs to be improved. That way, your internal sales management team or your training team can work specifically and strategically with each one of your reps, whether they're BDC, sales, or management, to get them to that next level, to become that phone superstar. Okay, so again, if you want help with your phone skills, look at Call Review. And Call Review is going to be at the upcoming IS20G 15, April 15th to 17th in Baltimore.
Absolutely, Sean. And you want to make sure that if you're going to get connected with Call Review, that you get a live training from someone like myself. I mean, why not get the blind phone master teaching you what to say and then making sure Call Review is enforcing that you're actually saying it. All right. So with that being said, I kind of want to talk about one of the things. Y'all about to hate me up right now. The next tactic that I'm going to give you is not specifically a tactic that you're going to use, when you're talking to customers, right? You're going to use this before you start talking to customers, right? You're going to use this at the beginning of the day, during the sales meeting, and all that kind of stuff. And I know each and every one of y'all, well, I'll say the strong people don't mind it, but the ones who aren't really that great yet, they usually hate this, right? And what am I talking about? Talking about role playing. Ooh, yeah, man, role playing. Like, it's just one of the, and I'm not just, come on, man, get y'all minds out the gutter. I'm talking about sitting down with one of your fellow sales masters or one of your managers, right, and having a conversation back and forth as if you were talking to a customer, right? The problem is most people practice on real customers, right? That ain't the place to practice. When you're in front of real customers, it's time for the game. It's not time for practice, right? And so we got to practice with each other, right? And so this is the thing that, again, most people don't like to do it, but you got to come up with scenarios and you need to play them out. If you want to have a strong sales team, I highly, highly, highly recommend it, okay? Because all it can do is make you better, right? Earlier, this might have been last season on the podcast, we had a gentleman named Gino Kyle, and he said that before he hit the floor, he had gone over the customer's objections a good 25 to 100 times before he got on the floor, right? So many people, the first time when they get on the floor, they might blow that first or second deal because they faced a situation that they weren't quite prepared for, right? Well, if you go over a situation, let's say you go over 4 different situations 25 times, well, by the time you talk to a real life customer on the floor, well, now you're up to your 26th time of handling that particular challenge that day. And so anybody ever have a situation where you be like, man, I wish I would have said this. I wish I would have said that. Well, that becomes eliminated when you role play because you get the opportunity to change what you would have said, and you get a manager, someone to go, ooh, wait, yeah, so that was good, but I wouldn't try this because if you say this is going to happen, that is going to happen, right? And so again, I just think that so many times we're not role playing specific car scenarios with our colleagues. If we would change that, man, I'm telling you, we would take our game to an entirely new level. All right, so now we talked about role playing, but what specifically should I be role playing? Of course, all of the things that we've already discussed during this podcast, but I cannot let this podcast go without talking about labeling customers' emotions. Man, I'm telling y'all don't understand the value and the power of being able to do something like this, man. I'm telling you, all right, so what am I talking about? So let's say I'm talking to a customer and I notice that they are hesitating when it comes to the price, right? I think so many people don't want to address the elephant in the room, but I'm gonna say something, right? That's the whole thing. I don't mind saying something. Sometimes you got to say something. So I might say to the customer, well, it sounds like you seem a bit hesitant. It sounds like you're concerned about staying within your budget. You see? And so now it's laid out there. It's not hiding the fact that you're hesitating. We're not hiding the fact that you feel some type of way about whatever I just said or just did or whatever transaction. Any elephants in the room, man, I'm telling you, I'm going to expose them, right? And so, sometimes a customer may seem like they're getting frustrated, and I'll go, wow, seems like that's really frustrating to you. Right? And so we'll have that conversation as well. A lot of times, look, salespeople, internet coordinators, sometimes they're just afraid, right? And I don't want to call folks names and stuff like that, but I'm just saying y'all running scared, man, and you can't run scared. Now, here's the thing. I get it. People say, oh, I have a temper, so I feel like I might say something that, would really make the customer mad or something like that. Well, then personally, that's something you need to work on within yourself, right? But seriously, we need to make sure that all of not only the words are laid out there on the table, but all of the emotions that we're feeling, because understand that sales is an emotional process, right? It's an emotional decision that folks make. They'll keep based on logic, but they make emotional decisions. And so we got to make sure that all of the emotions are laid out there on the table and that there's nothing that's hidden from this conversation, because otherwise we can't have a really good, highly transparent experience here, and then people are going to leave the table feeling like there was something that I left unsaid, right? And that's why most sales aren't accomplished, right? Because we aren't on the same page with our prospects or our potential customers. So again, you really do your best to label a person's emotions. Even if you're wrong, it's better than not saying something at all, because if I'm wrong, then they'll just correct me, right? And some of y'all have a problem with that, but again, that's something else you need to work it out within yourself, right? It's okay to be wrong. Matter of fact, I like being loud and wrong. Anyone who's been in any of my classes, I teach, right, that, hey, listen, I like folks that are just like me, loud and wrong, right? Man, sound like y'all having a horrible time listening to this podcast, right? Hopefully I'm really wrong on that one, right? No, but the game is all about laying out there exactly what I think is happening, because that will put me in the best position to make sales. And I know that's what y'all want to do. Now, one real good way to increase sales is you got to have a quality CRM.
Hey, LA, did you know that CRM is one of the absolute most critical resources in a dealership? If you think about it, the CRM truly is going to either maximize or minimize each and every single employee, team member at the dealership. If the CRM action plans aren't professional, they aren't up to date of this century, they're not going to give your people the right tasks and activities to do throughout the day. It's not going to allow you to follow up with the different types of prospects and leads with the proper gestation periods, etc. If you've got antiquated verbiage, antiquated templates, if they are incorrect or not mapped out correctly, it's going to severely compromise your success. As a matter of fact, over 92% of all CRMs are broken, not set up correctly, not utilized correctly. Let me tell you this right now, Vin Solutions is one of the absolute best CRM companies in the automotive industry. If you need any help with CRM or anything related to CRM, you need to check out Vin Solutions. As a matter of fact, Vin Solutions is going to be at the upcoming IS20G15 3-day automotive sales conference, April 15th to the 17th in Baltimore. So check out Vin Solutions in Baltimore.
Absolutely, y'all better be there. I'm telling you, ain't going to miss it. Anyway, all right, so there's so many different things that I could teach about, and we ain't gonna be here all day, okay? I want to do an entire podcast on the power of influence and the one-sentence persuasion technique, but that's a different day, a different podcast. Maybe we'll do something like this in the future. But I want to close out this thing talking about what Chris calls accusation audits, right? Accusation audits, okay? Now, crazy thing is, my wife don't really like when I do this, but it does get the result that I'm looking for, right? So what the game is to do is to preemptively discuss what you think the customer is going to say before they say it, right? And so this might be a situation where even if I'm about to present numbers to a customer that I think they're going to like, but they still might try to squeeze me, you know how sometimes we got those kind of customers, right? I might start off by saying something like this. Sean, when I show you these numbers, man, you're going to think that I wasn't listening to you when you discussed your budget. You're going to think that I'm just trying to overcharge you, right? You're probably not going to be really excited with me. However, I did promise my managers that I would show it to you because it is the absolute best we can do. And if you got to say no, I totally understand. And then I'll show them the numbers and then I'll go, you know what? This ain't bad. No, I can do this. We can make this work, right? And now I'm in a good situation, right? And so that's called an accusation audit. I'm going to think of all the things that they might say to me when I present to them a situation, whether I'm going to show them a car, when I'm going to show them some numbers, whatever it is that I need to say to them. Remember, in the last quote unquote section, we were discussing saying what we think the customer is feeling. Okay, well now this final piece I'm giving you is saying what we think the customer is going to feel once a certain action has been committed, right? And so I believe if we were to implement these strategies, tactics, whatever you want to call them, if we just knew this stuff, man, it would put us in a situation where we could serve more customers and make more money. And I know that that's what you want to do because you're a listener of the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, right? So listen, I only committed 30 minutes to this podcast. I didn't want to do a long podcast. I know y'all used to hours and hours and hours of content. But today, listen, I felt like I would just hit you with some power-packed punch and then let y'all, take that and go run with it, man. We getting ready to close out the year. So listen, I always say you are the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time with. And you've just been spending a little bit of time with Mr. Sean V. Bradley. But of course, with the one and only L.A. Williams, the blind master. Listen, anybody got an issue with anything I said, y'all know y'all could text me, you know what I'm saying? Just shoot me a message, right? The number is 267-551-6279. I'm thinking about changing my number, so if y'all want to have a conversation, make sure we do it by the end of the year, all right? All right, it's your turn. Go out there and be a millionaire car salesman. This is the blind master. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace. So there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tiana Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Sean V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, and remember, where I'm from, money provides options. If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman group on Facebook. We'll see you there.